All right, so it is 5:35. Go ahead and call the meeting to order. So roll call. Stacy.
Seth Rogers present.
Stacy Popovich present.
Troy Stinson present.
Wayne Grisman present.
Oh, General Counsel present.
Kelsey not here. So we can make a motion to-
I don't know if it's work related, so I'm not gonna make a motion.
I don't know either. So anyway.
Fire.
Okay.
So Kelsey absent.
Absent. Any disclosures?
No additional disclosures.
Perfect. And then approval or disapproval of the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Troy, Stacy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving on. President's welcome. Rules, so, hi, welcome. No, welcome. All right, so we'll go ahead and stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Do we have any public comment?
Technically, you're not
You
public.
count. You count. You still live here in the district, so technically, if there was something you as a private citizen wanted to bring to the attention of the board, you could.
You had a complaint for Wally,
That got passed on the appropriate entity, Meridian Ranch.
right? Okay.
All right. Good. Consent agenda. Questions, comments, regards? Can't remember, is this the one I have to read?
You do not.
Okay.
It's just one motion for all of them.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay.
Motion second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving on. John, attorney's report.
Yeah, attorney's report. Carter, you want to bring it up? The big one, unfortunately, I don't have an update on, the Mentor State Service Plan. So El Paso County had requested an updated set of infrastructure maps with our submission. Carter and I have been working on acquiring those now since at least the last meeting. And we thought they were kind of around the corner, and we don't have a timeline on it at this point. So what we're gonna do is, to keep this ball rolling, we do have a set of, I believe, 2020 infrastructure maps. So they're a couple years old, and there are some things not on them. But just to progress this, we're gonna go ahead and resubmit with those and see if the county pushes back at all and asks for something more recent. So unfortunately, that's the update on that, but it's pretty much good to go. I think we'll have resubmission, probably, I think, end of next week, would be my guess, and get that next iteration in. Waterbury, we'll talk about this more in executive session. We've been in communication with Wayne, Water Council, and with Ms. Williams, Paula Williams. She's an attorney at McGeady Beecher, and she represents 4-Way Ranch number 2. So I think we have all the right parties in the room at this point, and we have open communications. So we have them in the executive session to kind of discuss the negotiating factor of a potential Waterbury inclusion. So we'll discuss that more then. Pipeline easement agreement, this was approved at a prior meeting. Basically, we finalized the agreement in December, and Wally took it from there, and my understanding is the district's been paid on it, and everything's done.
Wayne came in during the holidays and signed the agreement, and they got our check. So.
Perfect. Those are kind of the big ones. I'm happy to address any of the others on here though as well.
All right. Okay, so consider for approval resolution for adopting uniform parking rules and regulations.
Yeah, so the board originally approved this resolution, or the earlier version of it, back in 2024. And it was to address kind of parking on district tracks, with kind of the idea being the parking behind the fence lines off of Stapleton. I have updated this just slightly. When I spoke with Carter a couple weeks ago, he had mentioned that people were not only storing vehicles, but they're also storing trash and other things on district tracks. So I just clarified the language a little bit to kind of allow enforcement of removal of trash and things of that nature as well. Also simplified the notice procedure a little bit. Basically, you know, this is mostly a vehicle document, but if someone were to park a trailer on district property, the district will kind of make an attempt to notify the owner and let them know that it needs to move. And then if it's not moved, then they're within the authority to remove the vehicle. Same goes for the notice, should the district not be able to find the owner, because at the end of the day, the district's not a DMV, we don't have access to property records or anything like that, so it's gonna be, you're parked behind this house, you notify that house, I don't think it's probably gonna go beyond that. But ultimately it's up to the district, you know, how much effort they wanna put in on the notice beyond that. But basically just kind of simplifying the process, allowing for removal of vehicles stored on district tracks and trash.
I just had a question regarding that. Is there
Yeah.
any is there any notification to the community about that this is, you know, district land and that you would be parking illegally, or?
It is not required for this to be enforceable. At the moment, I don't believe there's any sort of signage up in this area saying, you know, don't park here. I'm a little cynical on this, because, you know, when I see grass off a roadway, I don't immediately think I can park my trailer here for, you know, a full year. But ultimately, the district is free to add signage to any area they think there might be, you know, confusion for the residents or anything like that. But it's certainly not a requirement.
Because I see quite a few vehicles, and you're just confirming it's district property, you know, between Eastonville and I think, is it Liberty, or, you know, along Stapleton?
Yep. Yeah, so we do.
So I was gonna say, that's actually one of the ones that John and I've been working on. So I've already notified all of those property owners that have been parking their vehicles, trailers.
You just have signs up there.
So there's not signs there. There are signs in the other areas where the drainage areas are, but that is not a drainage area, so we had put signs in the past, but like it's just about to say, I've already notified those property owners that they have until the end of the month to get those removed. So I will follow up with them most likely Monday, just to say, hey, haven't seen any movement on this, kind of running out of time of moving these vehicles, because we own, from the end of their property line, it's 10 feet. So all of those things are within that 10-foot property line.
Who owns the other 10, county?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, it's right away from the county.
And one small asterisk on this as well, I did carve out parking on just straight up district property, like a tract, and parking like long-term in the district parking lots.
Right.
If someone, you know, parks in a parking lot long-term, then we try and give them a 24-hour notice, you know, just let them know you can't just put them in the park here. It's another thing if they drive up on your lawn, park their car and walk off. So parking on the tract, you know, quick notice, try and figure it out, otherwise you can basically tow immediately. If they're parked in an actual designated parking area, just long-term, then it's a 24-hour notice that's provided as well on the vehicle.
So with the removal of vehicles, obviously charging and stuff would be done by whoever takes possession of the vehicle, the tow company.
Correct.
What is the cost, and who's the cost passed to for trash removal, things that aren't vehicles that hold a value?
So
Since you address trash in there.
That's a really good question. So in a perfect world, the way it would work is the district would pay for that removal. And if they know who the owner was, they could then essentially add it to the owner's property ledger. If you don't know who it is, it's kind of like, unfortunately, someone, you know, throwing a bag out their car when they're driving down the road. It's just on the district's side. But I'm happy to answer any other questions on this. Otherwise, field a motion to approve.
Motion to approve uniform parking?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved. Next one's me as well. Resolution adopting notice of posting location. So this is this is a resolution that's adopted annually. Statute says if you wish to post your meeting notice on a website, you simply need to adopt a resolution stating where you're gonna post it if the website goes down. So we've adopted this in prior years. This is at the 8046 Eastonville Road, which is that this building? I'm not sure.
No,
not
that's
this building.
my office.
It's your office, okay.
Yeah.
So basically just designates where a meeting will be physically posted if the website went down for meeting notice.
Are we still posting it at the district office and then the Ranchland News, or are we not?
We don't do Ranchland News. Well, we do it on the website, we do it on the little vestibules on either side, right, of Woodman Hills Drive. And then we'll put a meeting notice up at the office.
Yeah, per statute, the website is sufficient, but you're always free to post wherever you like.
I'll make a motion to approve the designated location.
Motion second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next one is also me. Resolution adopting and amending restated digital accessibility policy. So, the quick background is we talked about how the district has to have a website that is accessible to individuals with disabilities. Those rules were very strict when this originally went into effect about 1.5 years ago. Last October, they updated the rules to make it much simpler. So now, as long as the website itself is accessible and the district has a way to remediate documents upon request, you no longer have to pay the cost of remediating every single document that's posted to the website. For new members of the board, that was $7 a page. So it was very expensive. All this amended and restated resolution says, it basically crops out all of the extra language that used to be in the former resolution and just simplifies it, saying that the website's gonna be accessible, and should somebody need an accessible document remediated for like a screen reader, they can reach out to Carter and Carter will provide that document.
Perfect.
I'll make a motion adopting the amended and restated digital accessibility policy and designating a compliance officer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Alright.
This one's probably you too.
I will leave this one to Carter.
What? Come on, you're on a roll.
Yeah.
That's how I felt.
10 new vacation days to every employee. Sets every month.
Where are we at? I think we gotta pull the agenda.
So 30 minutes work, 30 days of hunting.
You gotta watch him on this one.
Sorry.
I had to.
Whenever I see employee handbook come up, I'm like, oh, I hope Troy read this one.
And I did read this one very thoroughly.
So did I. And then I emailed Carter.
You didn't email me back though, so I'm concerned.
I read it.
I know, I'm sure you did, you always read it, but you didn't say it.
I didn't have to. I knew I'd see you this evening.
Ah, so it's okay. Okay, so there are 2 items on the agenda to discuss, potentially approve if the board is so inclined to approve. One of them, we'll just start with what's up on here, is our sick and safely policy. So this is directly out of the handbook, right? So this is verbatim what is already in the handbook, except for this highlighted portion. Okay, backstory, if any of you aren't very familiar with the WHA rules in the state of Colorado. So as an employer of over 16 employees, we are required by law to offer sick time to our full-time and part-time employees. The minimum requirement is an hour for every 30 hours worked, you get an hour of sick time. It has to accrue, and it has to be a carryover of up to 48 hours a year. You are also not required to allow your employees to use more than 48 hours in a year, right? So you can't cap the carryover, and you can't go below the 1 hour for every 30 hours, okay? So that's standard. What we offer is obviously much greater than 1 hour per 30 hours worked. When you think about, 56 hours for date of hire through 5 years, and then 6 years through 9 is 64 hours a year, and then 10 years and plus you get 80 hours of accrual. So much higher than the standard. We also have a cap where we're not limiting your ability to carry over, right, because that would be illegal. What we're saying is that once you reach 720 hours, your accrual is capped. And then until you get under that cap, you won't accrue anymore. It's not preventing your carryover, okay? So that's very important. What this new section says is that we still have a 720 hour cap. However, if you are accumulating hours above 720 in that calendar year, at the end of the calendar year, we do an audit of all the leave balances that says, okay, this person, Bob, was at 735 hours on 1/1. So we are going to compensate Bob for those hours above the 720 on the first pay cycle of the following year at his regular pay. And then you just go back down to the 720 cap, you allow that person to continue to accrue. If they don't use any hours, right, if their accrual, let's say, is 40 hours, but they used 30, then the following year, assuming you're still at that cap of 720, it'll only get paid for 10 hours, right? All of this is predicated upon someone, A, not using sick time for almost 12 years, and continuing to not use sick time every year after those 12 years. That's far-fetched for me to believe that you're gonna have a significant amount of employees that are gonna fall into that category. Today, you have 7 employees out of all of your full-time. I really only looked at full-time because part-time didn't work enough to really earn enough accruals. But there's 7 full-time employees that are active employees that have over 100 hours of accrued sick time. There is only 1 employee that is close to reaching their cap, and that would be within the next probably 18 months. The next closest person is 4 years away from reaching that cap. The next person after that person is about 8 years. So you can see it's very few and far between does this actually occur. But the reason why we think this is something that is important is someone who has been with the district for over a decade, who has been healthy and has shown up to work and done all the right things. The way the current policy is written is that you're almost limiting their benefit by putting that cap on there and not allowing them to continue to accrue. So what this does is it signifies to the employee, hey, we value that you have been a long-standing employee with the district. We value that you have these hours, and here you go. Here's an opportunity for us to show that value with that payout. Now, the policy itself is not being modified. What I mean by that is it's still not paid out at time of either resignation or termination. It's only in the event that you're in this cap situation. So someone is over their cap and they decide to leave the district, they don't get to take those hours with them. Any of them.
Sick leave typically doesn't go with you.
No,
No,
it's not paid out. So it's only in this singular event where you're an active employee, you've gone through the full calendar year, and it's the following January.
So for the amount of employees
Yes,
that this affects, the cost of the admin going through everybody's sick time to figure out whether it's over or not seems like a waste. You started off the conversation with we give our employees above and beyond what the sick leave makes us do. And I get that they'd have to be with us 12 years. But they'd have to have an immaculate immune system to not be sick not one day in those 12 years.
Right. Which is why I think the likelihood that this would actually happen on a widespread basis, not highly likely.
So what prompted the adjustment in the policy in order for us to need this? Because I do know with that act going into effect, a lot of places actually went to a use it or lose it system. So at the end of the year, if you've got 24 hours of sick time left, you should probably be sick around Christmas. Because you're gonna lose it on the 31st, because it reloads on the 1st.
So I can address that. So we have a lot of younger employees that have families. If you're to stick with just what the state minimum is, they're gonna burn out their sick leave and they're gonna come into work sick. The other side is, and I've seen this in the past, that once you hit that 720, that's a benefit that we're providing to that employee. So if I'm that employee, one or another, that's my benefit. So once they hit that 720, if there's no incentive for them to keep going, you're gonna get that Ram Collin once a month to burn that leave off. They're short-handed.
Well, 720 seems like a lot, but that's only what, 9 weeks? In 9 weeks?
90 days,
4 months.
8 hours.
It's 3 months.
I think it's 18 weeks.
It's 90 days.
Yeah, it's 90 days.
So I'll address
8
something
hours.
else on that.
So why do we put something out there that such a small number of people will ever be able to take advantage of?
So here's my other point on this. Since you guys get rid of Jerry and put the 4 directors in, with the
Whoa, we didn't get rid of Jerry.
I'm sorry, since Jerry's position was eliminated.
There you go.
No, there's only 4 employees in the district that are here, that was here under Jerry. Everybody else is leaving. Since in my time here, nobody has stayed here as long as they have now. They have a good crew and they wanna stay here. They left in the past because either they couldn't get decent pay or they hated management of every fiber of their being. We actually have a good crew now and we're trying to look forward to that longevity with these people, because it's so hard to find people anymore that, yes, I want these people. Back to your earlier point, I am the one that's close to that number. However,
I had it narrowed down to either one of you.
but I can also tell you.
My money was on this one.
Yeah, I had it down to 2.
I'm gonna hit that cap, and if I didn't take any sick leave from here on out, I wouldn't hit it until April of 2028. No, I'm 53 years old. It's gonna happen. It's not gonna happen,
Really guy
but
that comes in sick all the time.
if,
Everybody else.
Yep.
but in that time, it took me 15 years to get there. And I was not taking that much sick time, so the card number, it's gonna take you substantial time to get there. These newer employees have kids, their own stuff. It's just when they do get there, it's just something that.
Out of curiosity, what's PTO capped at?
With vacation,
Yeah,
160.
yeah, 160 years.
160,
So
so,
there's a cap on
Personal holidays.
personal holidays, I think it's 40 hours that you can carry over there,
But you only accrue 2.
but you only accrue 2 per year.
And do we have any sellback options in there at the end of the year?
No.
We pay for short-term disability.
Long term, not
Long
short
term.
term. So that's, to
When
get
is
to your other
long?
question, right, is the gap between, I'm sick, right, God forbid, I get cancer, right, I have to go on leave, right, so I take all of my vacation, all of my sick time, then my long-term disability can kick in, right,
Long
so.
term won't kick in until what, 6 months? It goes from
So
FMLA to
hopefully,
short term.
right, so
after-
hopefully I have enough either sick or vacation time to cover me until that LTD kicks in. But there's why we offer, as, you can call it a robust sick policy. I think it's really just trying to shore up the gaps for our employees in between those catastrophic events.
But 720 hours isn't gonna get you to long-term disability. You're gonna be 3 months short.
Well, 720 hours is 3 months.
Correct. Long-term disability is, I think, 6.
I thought it kicked in at the.
Cause short-term disability, you can get it to kick in as little as 14 days, depending on what policy.
And
for
what's our
short term.
FMLA cap?
FMLA is 12 weeks.
Yeah, it's all
They
about
just changed it,
calendar
there's an
year.
hour count on it now.
It's
It
also
was like
based on calendar year.
1,200 hours or
So
something.
there's a certain amount of hours that you have to work in order to qualify for it, but then there's a certain amount of hours that you can utilize in a calendar year and under FMLA. So, I mean, FMLA is also available too.
Well, I just wanna make sure that there's not a gap in there.
Google says 90 to 180 days, so I'm not sure.
I mean, I'm more
For
concerned with there
long-term
being a
care.
gap
For long-term care.
between an FMLA and their sick time.
I mean, depending on how new of an employee you are,
I mean, cause they'll burn through that. If they go out on FMLA for a major injury, they're gonna burn through that.
well, if you're a new employee,
During
you're gonna
FMLA.
qualify for FMLA.
Cause you have to work 1200,
Correct.
I think it's 1260 hours prior to going out.
Yes.
But then again, this only covers somebody all the way to long-term disability if they've been
I
with you guys
know,
for
I
10
think
plus years.
Troy's asking other questions that are unrelated, but also related to tonight's about just overall as a package, I think is
Okay.
what you're asking. But I'm fairly confident, Stacy, when I pulled our LTD policy, because I was the one who put it in place, that it fit this mold. That there wasn't a big gap, assuming you weren't a brand new employee, between sick time and when LTD was going.
Something else I would, for you to consider, and again, yes, I'm close to being there, this is not a long-term play for me. If next Tuesday I wake up feeling like crap, I'm gonna use a sick day. I'm not gonna be like, oh man,
For your
whole time.
Tough now.
I was gonna say, you're about to go do PR at all the preschools and elementary schools.
I think what he's saying, the likelihood that an employee would play some long con for 10 plus years, all to get one extra paycheck a year, that's some serious dedication by that person. They should probably be in some other line of work and not in what we do, but the likelihood that someone's gonna do that is not very good, right? So I think if you're thinking the potential for fraud or the potential for people doing something that's not in the best interest of their peers or the district, I don't think you're gonna have that issue if you enact this policy. I think really what this says to our long-term tenured employees is like, hey, we value you, we value your time, and we value this benefit for you. So we wanna provide you an opportunity where if you hit this cap, you are penalized for hitting it.
Or you just remove the cap.
You could do that too. You could go unlimited.
What are other districts doing?
It varies, honestly, finding something that is relative is hard. When it comes to sick, vacation, those benefits across the special district realm, it is wildly different every place you go.
Most special districts don't have employees,
That's
so this is kind of an uncommon thing in general.
Is there any verbiage, in the policy around if an individual is sick greater than X number of days, they've got to essentially provide proof?
Yes, 3 days. 3 days.
So it is the 3 days that your doctor's note or
Yep.
something like that?
Yeah, they gotta provide from office.
Good.
If we request it, I believe.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, just only question from legals, did you run this by employers council?
This particular, yeah.
Yeah, just any changes. Okay.
Yeah. The whole policy has been run through, labor law.
Okay.
When we first did it, and then I took this section and I ran it through them, and it all came back,
Okay.
checked out.
Cool.
Because we're not limiting carryover, right, those are the big key things, because we're not limiting those, and we're allowing them to the 720 is more generous, which we don't have to do, and that's the reason why this is all, and you're not obligated to pay out either, right, that's in the law, you're not obligated to do that, that is something that we are asking for, but you're not required to do. But I think if you're if Troy, if your concern is the gap between first year of employment and a catastrophic event in your life from a health perspective, I would agree that there is a gap, right? In terms of when benefits when they really, not benefits in terms of insurance, but the time off benefits don't accrue fast enough in that time frame, and your LTD is definitely not gonna help you in that scenario. So if you're more interested in closing that gap, that is a different kind of conversation for us to have.
Well, once they go out on sick leave, they're not accruing time at all.
Exactly, that's the other problem, unless you're salaried. Cause you gotta work, right, it's hours work.
I don't have anything. I would say remove the cap.
Just go unlimited carryover essentially.
Yeah, cause I know from like my real life job, that act actually made a lot of special districts get rid of carryover altogether. And so now, the district who already is providing above and beyond on benefits, from day one, you don't even have a grace period for your benefits or anything like that. You have a larger sum of vacation and everything else. Now you're asking for, something else that other special districts aren't doing. They're on a use it or lose it system, now that they're required over 16 employees
Yeah,
to provide sick leave,
right.
which they weren't having to do before.
Well, and our people that are even close to that are all exempt employees, right? Anybody
So
who's-
of the 7, 3 are exempt. For our hourly lines.
I'll be honest with you, I think removing the cap, I'd be okay with that. Cause again, you know, if I got a kid that's 20, if he stays here till, puts his whole career in here, yeah, he might rack up 900,000 if he's healthy. But as he gets older, again, to your point, he has a catastrophic event, he needs to be out for 3 months, he's covered.
Right. Doesn't have to worry about LTD, cause LTD doesn't cover at 100%, right?
Correct.
So,
60.
so I think just doing away with the cap provides the same, I think the same concept that we're going for, right? It's just that these people shouldn't be penalized for breaching this cap. I think that was kind of the goal. I hope our message of like the whole payout didn't lose what we were really going for, which is they just shouldn't be penalized.
I think if you put a payout in there, you run the risk of, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you would put language in there of a payout, and they leave employment and ask for that to be paid out, what are the chances we lose that battle?
I mean, it depends how it's phrased. I mean, if it's a guaranteed payout, kind of the same way that, like, I guess like pay time off or something is normally paid out, it would just be an obligation of the district. I mean, to be fair, it wouldn't be much of a mystery though. I mean, you know how many employees you have, you know what their sick times are, so you know what the liability theoretically is there if everyone quit on the same day. So it is something I think just from an employment standpoint, you know, it'd be more problematic to say payout and then revoke it later than not do it at all. But yeah, I mean, certainly this is within the discretion of the board, you know, how you feel about kind of general employment rules. Yeah, and I'll add to it, to clarify my question to Carter was, I don't practice in employment law. So the district has hired a group called Employment Counsel to kind of review your guys' documents and things like that. So that was my question to Carter, was just if they've actually gone through this language and the form as a whole, and the answer was yes. So I think from a legal standpoint, this is, you know, fully at the discretion of the board ultimately.
I think there's a clause in there, this statement that specifies that sick leave is not paid out upon termination or leaving your job. Would that cover you no matter where you're at?
It's also in state law.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's always discretionary. I think any employer could probably say, hey, we want to pay out our sick leave, then give extra benefits. But yeah, my understanding of state law is that sick time by default does not have to be paid out. So yeah, there could be a line in there saying, you accrue as much sick leave as you possibly accrue. District finds it a benefit when the hardworking employees don't get sick or don't.
See, ours with the city is paid out.
Mine
Yeah.
was too.
Upon
At a percentage.
separation.
Or we're urban on the municipal side, yes, you get a certain payout of it.
Yeah, I guess
Municipal.
when I read this, it actually pointed out a good thing. It says payout is voluntary and supplemental. That's kind of odd. I probably would clarify that to say the district is going to pay out or is not going to pay out, as opposed to voluntary and supplemental, because it sounds like it's discretionary. And I think from a district liability standpoint, you don't want to, give sick leave payout to your favorite employees and then not
The
give it to the ones
reason
you don't
that
like.
verbiage is in there is aligning with HFWA rules.
Okay.
So, because the rules say you don't have to pay out,
Mhm.
making it clear saying that payout is voluntary, like the district is voluntarily saying, yeah, we're gonna pay this out. And it's supplemental, meaning that it's supplemental to the policy, the state law, but it also is in coordination and alignment with the law. That's the reason why that statement's there.
Got it. Certainly my recommendation would be the district follow a consistent policy. And if the board should decide to pay out or not to pay out, I would see if, employers' council would be comfortable with just simply stating whether the board's gonna pay out or not pay out, or the district's going to, just cause you don't want an employee to sue over this language saying, hey, last person got paid out, we have a new board, new
Yeah.
people maybe in your seats, I didn't get paid out, why is there this
Do
discrepancy
you
here?
agree with John in going through employers' council and doing my own research, is that if you do make the decision to make it payout, reversing course at a later date may be impossible.
We've had a discussion about this before, and I think I was
Probably
opposed to
right.
it before. I'm opposed to the payouts only for this reason. I want our employees to use the benefits we give them. I want them to use them. If you need to go to the doctor, I want you to use your sick time. I don't want you to have to use your vacation time. I want you to use your sick time because that's what it was for. Family stuff, I want you to use your sick time, not your vacation time. Your vacation time's for leisure activities. The sick time, it usually accrues faster than your vacation, which gives you more opportunity to, hey, if I need a dental cleaning or whatever, I'm taking 4 hours of sick time today so I can get my teeth fixed. Whatever it is. But I think if you start paying that out, you start going down that road to where you're enabling them to not use that sick time, to not use that benefit. And we have great benefits in this district. And so I don't wanna see people not use it. That's the only reason I say that, is it's there for that reason. If they're not using it, they should be using it. If you need doctor's appointments and stuff like that. We all know, we call trying to get a doctor's appointment now, and it's always at the doctor's office convenience, not yours.
Yeah.
So, and that goes with the dentist and everything else. So if you start rewarding them, and I know we look at it both ways and we say, hey, great employees, never sick, always here and everything. Well, when do they go to the doctor for a regular checkup? We provide all this medical coverage and everything. When do they go get, so they're not gonna keel over in that tank next week from a heart attack, cause they can go get themselves looked at every year for follow-up.
You tell them they should go get a checkup.
That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, man, I wanna see, if we're gonna provide such a great benefits package and stuff, I would rather see our employees using the benefits that they're providing instead of sitting on them and not using them.
Yeah.
And I think if we start doing payouts, we're rewarding them for not using one of their benefits
Yeah.
to get a cash payout down the road. And I think we have other payouts in place with para and everything else already in the district. I think adding another payout in there, I think this contradicts what our intent should be with our benefits packages. I really think that should be a golden parachute if they get ill or sick or need to go to the doctor, stuff like that, so that they don't have to touch their PTO or vacation time, they use the sick time. Cause it accrues faster, if I remember right, it accrues
Yeah.
faster than their vacation time.
And you generally take it at a lower rate, so.
Yeah.
So that's my opinion personally, and if we vote on it, my opinion is gonna be for no, or my vote will be for no payout. I want them to use their sick time for what it's intended for, and save their vacation time for leisure activity.
What about removing the cap? What's your feeling on that?
I think it's the same way, you're still going into the spot where you're, once again, you're encouraging them, if they know they're not accruing, everybody waits till the end of the year to schedule all their preventive maintenance appointments. So if they know that they're gonna run into an issue where they're gonna get into a position where they're not accruing, they better schedule their annual follow-ups and get that knocked out, and just take the time off from work, using their sick time. They can knock that down in a heartbeat. Now, the only problem I have with not taking a cap off is bridging that gap between them making sure they have enough sick time in there to cover a short-term disability option on FMLA, or an FMLA option using short-term, because that's what it's gonna burn through their short-term disability. And I don't want them to have to burn through their vacation time using FMLA, because I don't know, I don't remember what our stack is for our FMLA here. If it goes sick time, vacation time, and then goes into short-term and then long-term disability. I don't remember what our stack is, because everybody has different options for short-term, long-term disability. But that would be my thought process on if we took a cap off. It wouldn't be to provide a payout, but it would be to take the cap off to bridge a gap in our benefit package to where they were able to accrue a longer run of sick time if they needed to go out on FMLA.
And I think that's what Stacy, you were saying, is alluding to, is no payout, but remove the cap.
Because 720 hours isn't gonna get you to long term.
No.
It's only 18 weeks.
Was it ever meant to be?
Well,
It's
No,
meant to
it
be
was
a
never
bridge,
meant
but
to-
it's never
Is
gonna
it really,
be
but it's never
exact.
meant to be a full bridge.
No.
It was never meant to get them, it was meant to get them to short-term disability.
but
And then
we,
once you get to short-term disability, then you're off of FMLA and you go into short-term disability. But you don't get full pay. FMLA, you're still getting full pay, short-term disability, you're not.
Right.
I don't know. I hate benefits back, I hate dealing with benefits. That's why I'm not an HR person. But I wanna figure something out to where it is in the best interest of our employees here.
So if we modify this policy to simply just remove the 720 cap, would that be more desirable by the board?
for me, yes.
I guess my question is, why are they not using their sick time?
They are,
Have
that's
we
the
asked?
thing. So think about it, think what I was saying, right, is that we have over 27 full-time employees, right? There's only 7 that have over 100 hours. Everybody's using it for the most part, right? There's just a few of us that just aren't. Now, that's either because you just don't get sick, or maybe you're a salaried employee and you have more flexibility in your schedule, and you can say, hey, I've got a doctor's appointment today, I'm gonna take off 2 hours early, but I'll make up the time later in the week, right? I mean, there are those scenarios that is true, but there's only 6 of us in the district that are salaried. But I would say, you guys correct me for your own teams, like, I approve sick leaves all the time. Hour here, 2 hours there, day here. My team uses it.
The other day is green around the gills.
Yeah.
We use this at times.
I mean, if they get close to the cap, I mean, the stir tanks need scrubbed.
They got people for that.
Alright, are we ready? Oh, I'm sorry.
I guess my question to the board is, do you wanna think about this, move on to the other topic that's related to employee handbook, and then we come back and you can decide if you want to vote on either one or none of them at all? How would you like to proceed with it?
I would say let's move to the next one. I think we've got a little conversation to think about on this one,
Okay,
and then let's move this
alright,
other
then
one.
we can come back. Alright, sounds good. Alright, this one is, a supplemental policy for premium pay, aka overtime. Okay, so this is a standalone policy, it's not one that's actually in the employee handbook. It's meant to augment the current overtime policy that is in the handbook, okay? Current handbook policy is, in line with state federal regulations. It says, you know, overtime is for hours worked 12 or more in a day, 40 or more in a week, or consecutive, 12 hours without regard to stopping in time, right? So all those rules is how our policy is currently stated. What this special use policy does is it gives the 4 directors the flexibility to approve premium pay in a scenario basis. So I think it would be better to give you an illustration of what that looks like, so you can understand what we mean by in a situation. Okay, so I'm gonna use Greg as an example, or you wanna go ahead and do it.
So, like, I got a guy coming next week to repair one of the blowers. He's supposed to be there on Tuesday. He doesn't show up until 2 o'clock, but he needs 4.5, 5 hours to fix the stuff, and then fire the unit up and test it. Everyone else gets to go home at 4 o'clock. I need someone to stick around until 5:30, 6 o'clock with the vendor to get things going. Under our current policy, by the time he gets to the end of the week, he's not gonna get overtime because he didn't hit his 12 hours for the day, but I asked him to stay behind. This policy would allow me to say, hey, you know, Greg, I really need you to stick around and help this guy out. You'll get overtime because the expectation was at 4 o'clock you get to go home. I asked you to stay late. You're getting overtime, regardless of what happens the rest of the week.
I think to add a variable in there too, what if Greg took Monday off, right? Because those hours are not considered as hours worked. Therefore, under current policy, even though he worked 3 extra hours on Tuesday, and technically if he worked a 40-hour work week, he would have got 3 hours overtime at the end, right? But because he took Monday off, he had vacation, scheduled vacation, he's now not gonna hit 40 hours worked. So in this case, Wally would have the ability to say, okay, hey, that was, really needed you to do that. I'm gonna approve these 3 hours as overtime, even though it didn't meet the current standard for overtime. So it's not meant to be used on a daily basis, weekly basis. It's really situational in those types of events where we really need the staff to do something for the district that's above and beyond either normal operating hours or scope. Those are really the kind of the parameters. And we try, in there, you can see in the policy, we try to also put in some safeguards, like if you know in advance that something's gonna happen, gotta request it. Just gotta have written documentation that it was requested and approved. Also goes on your timesheet so that we, on the HR side, have this all documented, that this was approved for, things like that. So I can give you, and these guys can give you a plethora of other examples where this would be helpful to have, but give you guys a minute to ask some questions.
If you scroll down,
Sure.
it actually, oh wait, maybe scroll up, sorry. No, there's a part in it where it reads that they're eligible for overtime, and in addition, well, there it is. This premium is in addition to any legally required overtime. So they're getting overtime for being outside of hours, and then they're gonna get overtime again for staying behind.
The purpose of this section is just to define what the current status quo is. So that can be, I can understand why that could be confusing. That can be either removed as a whole, because maybe it's not even necessary to have.
It's the next one
Next one
down,
down.
it's premium pay, it says, time 1.5 for hours worked outside the employee's normal scheduled hours. This premium is in addition to legally required overtime. So overtime is time and a half, and then you're giving them time and a half, so they're getting triple time. That's why I sent you that email earlier, and said you're asking us to approve triple time because they stayed till 5:30.
That's not the ask.
It's not both, it's just one or the other.
Don't you all already have, on-call people in your sections for those weeks? Somebody's on call every week, right?
Yeah, but they can fall into the same, they still only work 40 hours. They don't work.
Yeah, but if you need somebody to come in after hours, normal hours, it's your on-call person.
Well, and so in my situation, if the on-call person is one of the newer people and doesn't have the knowledge to work with that vendor, I need the person with the knowledge to stay behind, not the on-call person.
Just a quick technical question on this, just for clarification purposes, kind of overlapping, what Stacy was asking. Let's say someone works a normal 40-hour work week, and on the last day of that work week, something happens, you gotta give them a quick call, they come in and say, work an extra 3 hours. You know, it is an emergency, you approve it, would normally be this time and a half. That's the first 3 hours of normal overtime, but it also falls into this 1.5x. Do they get 1.5 or do they get 3
You
for
just
those
get
3?
overtime.
It would just be normal
Yeah,
overtime.
just normal overtime. It's not meant to be in
Okay.
addition to.
So once they hit their 40, they're only making overtime if they come in to be that with your vendor. Where if they only hit 36 hours for the week, you could authorize those extra 3 hours that they worked.
Yeah, but even on a Friday, they're gonna get overtime regardless, cause they're gonna put their 40 in. But again, I think to your example, you know, if you had an employee that, you know, you needed them to stay late, but they are scheduled to have Thursday, Friday out because they're going to Florida or something.
They won't hit 40 even with them
Yeah,
working
but
late.
I
They
asked
could
them to stay
authorize
late.
them to give overtime.
Then I would just say, hey, you can stay over 3 hours and then not take 3 hours of vacation time on Friday or whatever.
But you're
Flex
right, in
the
that
time.
situation, I guess we're not exactly, you're gonna tell people to pound sand if you truly need help, because they're gonna look at it as, I'm getting screwed.
In the example that you provided, you said that the individual didn't work Monday. Was that due to a holiday?
No,
Vacation.
If he had, say 3 months ago, he scheduled a day for vacation, and his first day, so he had Monday off on vacation, he came back, I asked him to stay an extra 2-3
So
hours.
he was paid for that day, so it's not like he lost pay for that day.
No, but he loses the benefit of the fact that he worked extra hours, because those 8 hours are not considered hours worked in terms of overtime.
Oh, so your vacation doesn't count towards your
No,
40
it
hours a
does
week?
not.
Okay.
Oh,
Clearly states
It
that.
doesn't, anyway, normally nowhere does it.
You know, when I worked at Verizon Wireless, it did.
ours do.
Yeah.
It seems just a bit discretionary.
Westpac did.
That's, I guess, the example that you provided, well, he came in at 2, why didn't he come in at 10? Because you said he came in at 2, but had to work past the normal.
No, I think Wally said he
No,
worked.
the
past
vendor
his
didn't get
hours.
there till later in the
Yeah.
day, so it was
Yeah.
out of our control that he didn't get there first thing in the morning, so someone's
Got
gonna.
it, I thought he was talking about the employee too.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's talking about the vendor.
Oh, okay.
Got
Yeah,
it.
he said vendor.
Yeah, yeah.
We're waiting on somebody from the outside to come in.
Right.
We have to
This is
have
kind
an
of, for
employee.
me, what brought this up was a couple weeks ago, we had to pull a plumber at the lift station, and Ross Electric couldn't get there till late in the day, someone had to stay late, cause you can't walk away once you pull that thing.
Okay.
So, but under our current rules, they weren't gonna get overtime, even though it was during the holiday week, they did have to work, the expectation was they should have been able to go home at 4, they didn't get home until 5. I feel like they should have got overtime for that, cause it was outside their normal duty day.
I mean, so thanks for clarifying, but it appears that the examples are somewhat discretionary. It's discretionary for you.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's
So,
why I thought that
but employee A and employee B, you know, we wanna be fair, so it's gotta be clearly documented what are the circumstances upon which somebody is eligible for time and a half.
Yeah, Sanford, I can speak to that just a little bit. Kurt and I spoke on the phone about kind of, you know, how the phrasing would work as he proposed it. And I just wanted to, you know, try and I didn't draft this, but I was trying to think of, you know, just ways to, you know, kind of structure it so that there weren't questions and it wasn't vague. And, you know, if an employee doesn't clock out for an extra 30 minutes, is that now overtime? And that was the reason I had, you know, it has to have director sign off was my recommendation. That way, you know, there's no question as to whether it was approved or not. But you're right, there is some discretion that you would hope a director would approve it the same every time in the same situation. But that was just kind of a qualifier I asked to be put in there, just as a way so that there was never a question from an employee, you you know, hey, I happened to just hang out for an extra 45 minutes, I was working, that should be, you know, half hour of time and a half or something like that.
Right.
But we address that also in there too, that if you have an employee that, you know, if I have an employee that comes up to me like, hey, I just, you know, wasn't gonna pick my kids up till late, so I just figured I worked till 6 last night. There, we still have to pay him for that, but I would take disciplinary action because they didn't approve that through me.
Unauthorized work.
Yeah, that's the whole pre-approval reason though.
So this is more like an extra duty assignment.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's something out of the ordinary.
Yeah, I think my understanding is, you know, it's, the goal is you have your normal work schedule. If you are called into work outside of that normal work schedule for, you know, reasons that weren't foreseeable previously, that would be the time and a half qualification.
I think I would rather see something like that just written in the current policy. I don't think there's a need for a new policy.
We talked about that, but we honestly thought that would have been met with more,
Hey,
opposition than what
Here's my thing with
went
this.
with. We tried to, our thought process was meet in the middle, right? Is that it's not like this happens all the time. But in the event that these situations arise, we want the ability to be able to make that judgment and the board give us directors that judgment. With making it, changing the policy as a whole and saying things like vacation time and sick time actually count towards hours worked. That changes this altogether, right? That in itself, in addition to if you say overtime is not 12 hours in a day, it's anything over 8, right? Because we work 8-hour days. You can make those changes too, but again, we felt like that was maybe taking it too far, and that we are really just looking at these isolated events, and that's the reason why we came up with the special use policy.
I guess I may be looking at it backwards, but I look at it as how am I gonna save my district money by minimizing overtime requirements for my employees. Not how can I pay them another time and a half hour in a day. So how I manage my people is, hey, I need you to stay and cover for Ross Electric tonight, but you know, the next time somebody has to stay, it's not gonna be the same person. But it's not to, I just think we're throwing money at something that we don't need to throw money at. We have labor policy in place already. And I don't think this is the right tool for that. I just think that managing our people to where, hey, I need you to stay 4 hours or 3 hours or whatever. I know you took vacation, pick somebody else that didn't have a vacation day that week that's gonna fall into overtime by staying.
You only have so many people. If you got a guy that's on call, he came off, he's not even recorded to work. You got someone else that's sick, another person that, your options can be limited.
I get that. But I mean, it still comes back to managing your people. It's how can I effectively manage my people, and not only manage my people, but how can I save the district some money here? I mean, I know you're looking out after your employee for their wallet, but you also have to look out after, okay, how can I manage this situation and try to save some money for the district instead of just keep piling on?
But I think that's what this policy does.
Yeah, so
Right,
I'll
because
give an
if we were to-
example. If I was JD's employee, and I work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I already have Thursday, Friday off, I wanna go up to Denver for something. Came back, he calls me on Saturday, he's like, hey, we got a main break, and we're breaking it up there for 14 hours. Now, on the current policy, you guys find I work 14 hours, I just take it off the time you use. What you just got done saying, we need to use for our leisure time. We already did that. So if
I
I,
didn't take that 14 hours. I didn't say take that 14 hours.
so if
off
I ask
your time
JD,
sheet.
I'm like, am I getting overtime for this? And he goes, no. I'm like, sorry, dude, I've been working, I ain't coming in. To help you, find someone else.
And it's.
And they could do that.
And it's somebody on call?
No,
But one
What
person
they're
can't
saying
handle
is the
it.
person on call isn't qualified to handle the pump thing.
Or
The
they're
thing with
already
Russ
overworked.
Electric, they found out that very same day that Russ would be coming later in the day.
So
If
it-
this is something pre-planned, they could schedule their employees, hey, you're gonna come in 2 hours late, cause I imagine you're gonna have to stay 2 hours late.
But we don't know that till 12 o'clock when the guy's supposed to be there at 10. And you call him like, hey, sorry, we got busy, we'll be there in 2 hours. Then you're-
which is why I think to your point, Troy, why we like this standalone policy, is it does mitigate the financial liability to the district. We are saying, keep the current overtime policy in play,
However, give us the discretion that if we need to approve overtime, we can do that on a special use policy basis. So
Because-
we are looking out for the financial liability of the district by allowing this policy to be in play.
Because a third party delayed their day, so they have to delay an employee's day, a
This-
qualified employee's day.
I think this is one of those things that's not like, pay time off. If the board, looks at this in a year and says, there's been way too much just extra overtime accrued for, I guess, employees not hitting 40 hours a week, it can certainly change that policy in the future. Out of curiosity, Carter, did you look just historically or in the last couple of weeks and just kind of see how often this would have applied if it was active?
No.
I would say on a per pay period perspective, I don't even think you would get one per pay period where this applies. I really think it's very unique circumstances. It's probably 3 or 4 times a year that you would see something like this on an employee's paycheck. And I'll give you extra evidence as to how these guys have been managing their staff and time and financial liability. So, when they became in their roles, they modified the on-call schedule so that the on-call person is only working 40 hours a week, and that includes them having to come in on Saturday and Sunday so that they don't earn overtime. So these guys are already thinking, okay, how do I limit the amount of overtime that we accrue? How do I be fair to our employees to create a schedule that is truly fair to them, but also fair to the district? But I think there are special circumstances that arise where these guys need to be able to pull triggers or levers to get the right people in place. And this is a tool that they can utilize to do that. Now, I think Chris hasn't had this yet, but we may get some really bad snowstorms that come in the next couple months. He may be in a situation where he may need his entire crew to come in, and maybe that's under current policy, it's not overtime, but they're doing a good for not only the employees of the district, but the community of the district. In that scenario, Chris should have the autonomy to say, you know what, you guys came in, you worked really hard, I think this needs to be premium pay, but overtime, even if it didn't necessarily follow the current policy.
I think I'm fine with the overall policy. I think the wording of it just needs to be real careful, like outside of foreseeable circumstances, things like that. If you know 3 days ahead of time that Russ isn't coming until 4 o'clock, then somebody gets a late start because they're gonna have a late night. You find out at lunchtime that Russ is already 2 hours behind and they've got 6 hours until they hit your door. That would be an unforeseeable circumstance.
Cause
So-
anything that happens after 4 o'clock, with a collapsed sewer line, broken water main, whatever, that's gonna be overtime regardless, cause everyone already hit their 40. So it's more outside just your normal Monday through Friday duty day.
Well, and that's what I'm saying, this is a whole new policy when we could just add the emergency situation language into the current policy.
I thought about how to work this into, very similar to like what I did with the sick time. I didn't like that, to be honest with you, because when you make a change to the handbook, you as the board have to completely adopt a whole new document every single time. It's just kind of like rules and regulations, bylaws, same thing. Whereas if we create a standalone policy, if we want to make a change to the policy or we want to get rid of the policy, guess what? Just get rid of the policy, you make a change to the policy. You're not modifying all this large document. The handbook itself is already like 95 pages. So,
You would just amend the policy
You
and put it
could.
in as an amendment.
yeah, but I still like I personally, from an administrative standpoint, like a standalone policy better.
And I would rather just have a clause in our current
It's fine.
rules and regs and.
That
employee
covers
handbook
this.
That covers this, emergency situations gives our directors the discretion.
Okay.
Put it in the current employee manual.
I just don't think, so what we've seen over the years is these standalone policies on paper and things get lost in the shuffle, they get distorted, they get pieces chopped out of them, put in them and changed and stuff, whereas we've already seen how many changes go from year to year in just the employee handbook. So why would we not just add it into the employee handbook as a whole, given the discretion to the enterprise directors to?
Okay.
I just think it's cleaner that way.
Yeah.
In one totality, otherwise it just looks like we're making up special, rules outside of the employee handbook. I'd rather see it encapsulated in with and give you guys the authority to make those calls. And I don't understand why we don't have something in the employee handbook already, giving you guys that you handle day-to-day operations. How would you not have discretion to keep somebody over, hold somebody over and pay them adequately to keep the water on or keep the sewer going? I don't understand that.
And it's kind of a gray area.
I mean,
I think you're right, I think,
don't take everything I'm saying wrong.
No.
I'm trying to be balanced here with it, but I think in the employee handbook and things, we already have things in there giving you guys discretion to make those emergency decisions and things on different things without coming to the board. You handle day-to-day operations. The law's clear about us trying to stay out of day-to-day operations. And so us coming in saying, okay, hey, you can let somebody work an extra 3 hours today is silly in my mind, because you're the person on the ground making that decision. And I just think that's an employee handbook thing that grants you guys that discretion in the district as a whole, not coming back and I get what you're saying about making these simple and coming back and forth to the board on stuff, but I don't think that's the intent of that. I think the intent is to encapsulate it in our employee handbook, our rules and regs and everything, so that everything's cut and dry. It's all in that one document. It's balanced, and we can amend as needed in there, or add addendums or appendixes or whatever for special circumstances and stuff. But I think a simple emergency situation clause, or something like, or a paragraph in there would be probably pretty sufficient, giving you guys the authority to act in an emergency situation to pay someone adequately to.
I mean, really, it's this statement right here. Director approval, directors may
I
approve
just think
times and one half.
we get too wordy on all this stuff, and it can get very
Yeah.
convoluted.
Okay, I see the value in that. It'll make it, 90% of what's in this policy is actually already in the employee handbook, so it'll make it cleaner.
And Carter, if you wanna add it in there and kick it over to me for a once-over, I'm happy to review it.
Okay.
And I mean, realistically, if you change one paragraph, it changes 2 pages in the employee handbook. Those are the only pages we need to review.
Yeah,
Let's do that.
I can do that.
Yeah,
So if
And
that's
I'm not
one.
trying to rock the boat here. I
No.
just think we're having a discussion on something and we're trying to add 2-3 pages of stuff to say, okay, you guys can be adults and make decisions without us, and I just don't think that's our place. I just don't.
It probably is easier for a new employee that everything's laid out in one, instead of here's the handbook and here's the 14 addendums to it.
And on top of that, I'm gonna assume that a lot of these other things like unauthorized work and things like that
It's
are
already
already,
in there.
they're already addressed in the handbook, so
Rate
now it's all in the
calculation,
same, it's all in the same document.
Recording time. So,
Just
okay,
like
that makes
that.
sense. So if that's one you're wanting to vote on, we just say pending final legal review on that one. And then going back to the previous one, more discussion on that one. Do you feel good about just removing the cap, not doing anything at all? What's the consensus, I guess?
I would remove the cap. No payout.
It's just removing one sentence.
Yeah, that's super easy too.
Yeah, I would agree, no payout.
I would go no payout, remove the cap.
So then,
I was gonna ask, do we need to do these as individuals, individual motions, or?
We can do it as one.
Okay.
And I'll let you know too, just for a little bit of, because Troy, talking about kind of the balance between the board and staff. This is, how you want to handle this as a board is entirely in your discretion. Is first off, is uncommon for special districts to have employees, so there's not a whole lot of these. I do have boards that review the entire employee manual and approve approve the employee manual on an annual basis. I have other boards that say, if you're gonna make a change, you need to tell us in a meeting. Outside of that, staff handles everything, they make their own changes, we don't approve a thing. So this is entirely in your discretion how you wish to proceed on this. For simplicity's sake, if you wish to simply approve the statements you said, remove the cap, no payout, and include this as well into the employee manual, you can certainly do that as a motion as well. There's no wrong answer here.
In the past, that's what we've done,
Yeah.
is we've only gone through certain policies and approved it that way.
Okay.
And we generally only do the employee handbook when we have major revisions in there, otherwise we do it piecemeal,
We
really.
did it in what, 22 and 24.
But that's because we had major changes to make.
22, we have a
That's a
lot.
lot. The whole thing changed.
Yeah.
It was basically.
Because it actually, the previous one wasn't legal.
Yeah.
Basically, the 8-year-old all.
I was gonna say 22 is a lot.
Okay, so looking for a motion for
I'm sure
what
it was
John said.
legal somewhere.
I'll make a motion
Alright.
to approve the sick leave, removing the cap, with no payout in it. And I'll also approve the, unforeseeable overtime approval, both to be added to the current employee manual.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, moving on. Alright, approval of county documents to remove stormwater requirements for lift station 1.
Yeah, so that's something, if you approve it, someone will have to come to the office and sign because it needs notarization. But in 2019, when we built lift station 1, at that time, the county required, as part of a stormwater plan, being hooked to D49, because of our proximity to them, that we had to put in these porous pavers, like a little rubber mat with holes in it, supposed to hold water, let it percolate back in the ground.
You're talking about over at Fountain Elementary.
Yeah. So when the D49 came in and put that sewer line in, it's supposed to do them and Kelvin Fields, they tore the crap out of that thing. Now, unfortunately, we didn't know that was part of the county plan, and so we just tore it out, put it in. Well, lo and behold, back in November, the county comes out and wanted to see the porous pavers. But shit, they're not there. But, yeah, I wasn't too worried about it, went back, and that's where this thing came in, and actually, it wasn't required even back in 2019. The disturbed area has to be larger than 1 acre for that to kick in. We only have 0.25 acres, so we don't actually need them. So, it's less work for us not to have to put them back in, they don't wanna have to come out and inspect something that's not
Is
theirs.
it due to the proximity of the school, or is it just
It's
because
part-
of the
Somehow,
Madison County
because
stormwater?
of our relationship with that property to the school, I think the original calculation stuck in, it was almost like it was a part of D49 school, but we're not, we're a separate entity sitting there. So we're actually exempt from it.
So that school's being closed, I heard.
Which one?
The elementary.
The
Oh, yeah.
Charlton Highway.
Yeah.
Basically, county just wants to do away with this part altogether and nobody has to look at it again. So right now, D49's looking at their section, cause they're the one that signed off on it. I mean, we signed off on it also, it's a maintenance plan back in 2019, but basically just gets rid of the whole thing, and nobody ever has to worry about it again.
This thing, right? Maintenance agreement?
Yep.
This is signed.
Sherry, I mean,
Back in 2019. Well, none of us were in our roles, so none of us had no idea that this was even a thing.
and
Oh, I
that's
wasn't-
what we told the county, like, hey, we had no part of this.
Okay. So this is what needs to be signed right here.
So we have to sign it, D49 has to sign it, so right now the legal's looking at it. And
Okay,
once we
should
do it, then
be
the county signs it.
Any officer of the district, right, doesn't necessarily have to be you, Wayne, I think.
We have it written in our
Any of you
bylaws,
can write
any
it.
board member.
Yeah, any board member can sign it.
I'll say if you have it available, if it's approved, I can come by tomorrow afternoon and sign it.
Kimberly will be in the office until noon or 1. So if you're able to come,
I teach until noon
Oh.
up north.
I can swing by.
Okay.
As long as it's not blizzard.
And then Kimberly
Yeah,
can
as
notarize
long as
it.
it's not snowing.
Yeah.
If it's winter outside,
You ain't going nowhere.
It's supposed to be just flurries all day and super
Yeah.
cold.
Okay, if you come in, I will have Kimberly notarize it, and then I'll get it to you. Cool, thank you,
it won't be until 11,
that's fine.
cause I go into meetings before she gets to work.
So before we put the cart before the horse, do we have a motion?
Motion.
Okay.
I thought that was a given.
I know, but for the record.
That's true.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'm. Sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
She lied, she said she was good for 4 hours.
Any opposed?
I know, I'm failing miserably here, guys.
Alright, next item.
Whew, I might have over,
I think this leads into John.
All right. Sorry, just gonna get the recorder up here.
Here comes that legal stuff at the bottom of the screen.
All right, is there a motion to enter executive session for determining positions, relative matters, subject that may be subject to negotiation under CRS 24-64024E, namely potential inclusion of Waterbury and WWTP upgrade and regulatory improvement project, and personnel matters under CRS 24-64024F1, namely enterprise director's annual performance reviews.
Oh, this ought to be good.
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous motion carries. Entering executive session.
Alright, good? Okay.
Good to go.
Alright, so back in regular, items unfinished from previous meeting. Do we have?
No.
Okay.
Those goes.
Follow up on older items. Okay, I'm just looking around to make sure I'm not missing something that's on the paper. Other business.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Wait a minute, should we talk?
Wait a minute, we can talk about this.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Alright. One opposed.